Steve is banned, Kazuya is banned, everything's banned. It seems like in Smash Ultimate, people have problems with it, other people don't care. I'm gonna kind of give my opinion on the whole Steve ban situation and Kazuya ban. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. So of course, as of recently, we've been seeing Steve get banned at more and more events. If you guys don't already know, Steve has like kind of a game-breaking bug. Also, widely considered probably the best character in the game, just very, very different from any other character in the game. A lot of people have a problem with Steve. So we're starting to see him banned at more tournaments overall. And it looks like most recently he's going to be banned at Rise and Grind, which is an upcoming tournament in Waco, Texas. Actually going to be in October, which, by the way, I might attend that. We'll have to see. But some people are taking issue with this. Other people don't care. Other people are happy about it. Me personally, I'm kind of in the middle about it, and I'll kind of give my reasoning as to why. And I'm going to start off by saying that I do think this is going to be a more common thing. I do think we're going to see more characters banned. Well, not more characters. We're going to see more of Kazuya and Steve banned at more events. Mostly Steve, of course, but you know, we did see Kazuya recently banned at like a Dallas local, which for whatever reason made like national headlines, which I don't think is too crazy, honestly. I mean, Smash is like an interesting game because most of the time with competitive games, you know, there's typically like official circuits or like an official format. I mean, we're like in year, what, 5 of this game? There's still like no official stage list even, which is actually kind of crazy in my opinion. It's very grassroots. I mean, obviously, you know, recently Smash has been kind of like more mainstream, I guess. But Smash as a core is kind of just a grassroots kind of scene. And the Kazuya ban was really interesting to me because like all these people were saying all these things like, oh, like this is so bad for the game, it's gonna kill the game, like why are they banning Kazuya, he's not even a problem, this and that. I mean, you have to understand that like there's different levels to this, you know what I mean? There's local tournaments, there's regional tournaments, and there's major tournaments. I think local tournaments, like the one that banned Kazuya, I have absolutely no issue whatsoever with them banning characters. At the end of the day, right, locals are the tournaments that are kind of within your own specific region, your community, right? And if your community as a whole is, you know, losing attendance, not having fun with the game because of a certain character, because, you know, 4 or 5 people in that region play that character and every week they're getting top 8, right? I don't know the exact situation. I do know there's a lot of Kazuyas like up in the Dallas area, but that's kind of what it seemed like the case was. There's a lot of Kazuya players, people just weren't enjoying the game anymore, people were quitting the game. If you as a community decide that's going to be what makes your local thrive and makes people come back, then I have no issue at all with you banning a character there. And at the end of the day, that's really all that locals are. Like, they're just local tournaments within the community. Most people follow the same set of rules, but if you go to, I mean, even in my city, every single local has like a different stage list, so like they're all a little bit different, right? So I don't have an issue with like one local banning a certain character, especially if that region is dominated by that character and nobody's having fun, and you know, you drop your attendance numbers and people just aren't gonna go out to the local anymore. Why don't you at least try to ban the character, see if that helps out, and if it does, then, you know, what's the issue? There's more tournaments everywhere else, you know? And you see that with like all different types of games. Like, I'm also big into Pokemon Unite. I know Zacian recently got released. That Pokemon's completely broken, and, you know, people do community nights and things, and they just ban the character, right? Like, nobody has fun with that character, so they all just collectively say, hey, we're not gonna play this character, everybody's gonna have fun, you know what I mean? So I don't understand why it's such a big deal when it comes to Smash. And especially when it comes to DLC characters, you know, these are characters that have been added on like later on in the lifespan of the game. I mean, like, I'm sure there are people, right, that didn't really play Smash until like that character, right? Kazuya came out, oh boy, I'm gonna buy Smash and I'm gonna go crazy with this character. But most people that play these characters played other characters in the past. And granted, you invested your time, energy, all that into that character, and for them to get banned, it honestly does suck. But like, you're telling me you don't play any other characters like whatsoever? Like, I just don't really get it. I mean, I feel like I play so many characters that I never know who to play, so like if you ban one of my characters, that actually might benefit me. I won't have a character crisis anymore. Now let's fast forward back to Steve and Rise and Grind and kind of my thoughts at the regional level of tournaments as far as should Steve be banned or not. And like I said, with this, I'm a little bit more in the middle. I think banning Steve at a regional like this, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Again, there's regionals all the time. You know, this doesn't seem to be like a massive regional. I think last year was a pretty decent size, but nothing like too crazy. Not on the level of something like Genesis. Well, I guess it's more of just a major in general, but there's been, you know, bigger regionals. I think LTC was bigger than Rising Red last year. So I think at the regional level, you know, it seems like we're still kind of in that, you know, kind of in between periods. Some regionals are banning this character, other ones are not. I don't think it hurts to try it, you know? I don't think it's really a problem to say, hey, you know, we're gonna ban this character for this tournament, we're gonna see how it goes. You know, as far as Steve goes, I feel like it's not like other characters in the past, like, you know, Meta Knight, for example, in Brawl. Like, you saw Meta Knights everywhere, right? With Steve, I feel like it's not as common, but when you do run into a Steve, it's like almost always gonna be a problem for you. But that being said, like, I don't really have too much of an issue with him banning it. Where I have the issue is when these tournaments are, you know, basically announcing the tournament and then weeks or months later, that's when they decide they're going to ban the character. Because at that point, you're kind of just messing with people, you know, and it just kind of feels a little bit grimy at that point. You know, if you kind of announce this tournament and then, you know, weeks, months later, I'm a Steve player, I already signed up, and now my character is banned. Like, that's a little bit different, I feel like. I'm more so on the page of, like, if we're gonna ban the character, make sure you announce it right away. Don't be waiting around and letting people know later on, because like I said, it kind of just does mess with people. So like I said, at the regional level, I don't think it's too much of an issue. You know, regionals typically involve people around the state, kind of close by. Yeah, people do fly out to regionals as well, you know, top players and things like that. But as a whole, it's a little bit more local than like a major, like a super major, a tournament like Genesis, or, you know, back in the day Evo, where people were flying from all across the world. I think at the regional level, especially for these regionals that aren't, you know, massive, maybe like B tier, C tier events, I don't think it's a problem to ban the character. I mean, you have to think of the game itself, you know, and you have to think of the community as a whole. Like, if the entire community finds the game unfun because of certain characters, yeah, you can tell them to get better, learn the matchup and all of that. But at the end of the day, if people stop having fun with the game, they're gonna stop playing the game. That's how games die, right? It's when people stop playing the game. And I feel like with a character like Steve, or maybe even a Kazuya, like, okay, here's kind of my thought process, right? Like, yeah, they're not like, I mean, they're broken, but like, they're not like broken, I guess. But at the end of the day, you have to look at what the Smash community is filled of. And as a whole, most people in the Smash community are your O2ers, your 2-2ers, your 1-2ers, people that do okay at the game, you know, just play the game, you know, here and there. They attend tournaments when they can, you know, things like that. How is it affecting them? If I go to a tournament and I get double eliminated by Kazuya Steve, I'm probably not gonna be too happy about it, especially like with just how those characters are, you know what I mean? And eventually it's gonna kind of just push those people away, I feel like, to where they just don't have fun with the game and they stop playing the game. So as a whole, like, yeah, it kind of sucks, you know, if I'm a Steve main and my character gets banned, but is that any better than, like, you know, if you have 10 people quit the game in your scene because, like, they're tired of playing Steve every week in Kazuya, you know what I mean? And it is kind of like an iffy situation, because you could say that about any character, right? Like, nobody enjoys playing against Sonic. Are we gonna ban Sonic next? But at the end of the day, like, this is kind of where the community is at, I feel like. We're on this Steve and Kazuya discussion. These characters are kind of crazy, and it just seems like most people are not really fans of them, you know? Like, they just don't want the character in the game, and I think if the community decides that, then that's how it should be. People can continue to get mad and say, oh, like, I want people to figure out the matchup, it's their fault for not learning the matchup. But again, at the end of the day, what does the community mostly consist of, right? And I would say most people that go to tournaments, right, like when you look at a major, right, and 800 people are entering into it, like, over half of them are probably people that play the game, like, not casually, right? They play competitively, but they're not like, you know, 8 hours a day I'm playing this game, I'm grinding it. It's full of people that enjoy the game, that enjoy going to tournaments, competing, and having fun with the game. And if they're not enjoying the game because of certain characters, like, what's gonna be better for the scene as a whole and make this game thrive? And for me personally, I honestly don't really care either way. It doesn't really affect me too much. I don't play either of those characters. I don't enjoy fighting them. If they get banned, I mean, that's one less thing I have to worry about in a game full of 80 plus characters, you know? If they don't get banned, then it is what it is. That's kind of how I feel about it. It just blows my mind how, like, polarizing these characters are. Like, it's like the community can't agree on anything, it feels like, you know? And when in any other kind of competitive game, I feel like, you know, characters being banned and things like that, like, that's just a common thing, you know? It's not really uncommon, right? Like, I mean, I feel like it's you know, kind of natural to learn multiple characters anyways. I mean, granted, you know, you have your main, right? Like, your main is what you put all your time into mostly, but you do probably play other characters as well, and it's, you know, it's not the end of the world if the character gets banned, I don't think. I think people will find, you know, new characters to pick up, and I think it's going to be probably overall better for the community. I mean, if we just make a decision, but at the end of the day, like I said, this is kind of a grassroots kind of game, especially the competitive scene, and I feel like we're probably not going to come together on a decision here. And maybe that's why, you know, maybe that's why, you know, like I said, at the local level, I think locals should be doing whatever they want to do that's going to benefit their specific community. At the regional level, I think it's good to kind of have this diversity. Some regionals ban them, some don't, just so we can kind of figure out what's going to work the best. And then, you know, that's going to leave the major level, these super majors. Those probably shouldn't ban the characters, I would say, for now. But they should use the data that we're getting from these locals and these regionals to kind of make that decision moving forward. But that really blew my mind about the whole Kazuya thing. I was like, man, this is national news here that, like, one local bans Kazuya and it's like the end of the world. Like, people are going crazy about it. Like what's wrong with that? Like, it's just a local, you know what I mean? Like what's so crazy about that? You know what I mean? It's one local the community didn't like it there, so they decided to ban him for a little bit. I mean, I don't think there's really any issue with that. Like I said, it becomes an issue when, you know, these bigger tournaments announce it later on after taking people's money. That's kind of where it becomes an issue in my opinion. But if you know ahead of time that the character's banned, or especially like the months leading up to this, like it's kind of like, hey, knocking on the door, we might ban these characters, maybe you should learn somebody else as well. Then it's a little bit different, like if you know ahead of time. But of course, if you've, you know, booked your flight and your hotel, and then you find out your character's banned, like, yeah, that really sucks. Like, that actually does, you know what I mean? But like I said, local level, I think it's fine. Regionals, if you let them know ahead of time, I think that's fine. At the major level, I think we need a little bit more data before we can justify the ban. But I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of just experimenting here, you know? And I'm sure there's plenty of people that are gonna have different opinions than me. So go ahead and let me know in the comments. Let me know if I'm completely wrong or if I'm making some sense here, you know? I think what I've said kind of makes sense to an extent. It's just how I feel about it. I think it's not really too much of an issue, but let me know again in the comments. If you're a Steve main, if you're a Kazuya main, I think you definitely have a right to be upset. But I think you also have to look at it, you know, from both sides. Either way, I'm excited to see how this plays out moving forward. If we're gonna see more tournaments with the ban, or if it's gonna just slowly fade away, we'll see. You know, I'm sure we'll get another Smash game eventually, maybe in a couple years. Until then, we've got to kind of figure out what we're gonna do here with Ultimate. If you guys enjoyed this video or you want to hear more from me, definitely leave a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of Smash stuff, and I'm kind of all over the place. Fresh Cut, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you guys can find me over there. And one more thing to close this out. If you lose to Steve, or you lose to Kazuya, just remember one thing. It's a skill issue.